Eyeless had had enough. "This is madness," he snapped. "We haven't told you what he wanted. There is more, you know." He lowered his voice and continued. "This is a beast of epic proportions. Truly immense. Dragon is an appropriate term. If he were to stretch his wings, he could touch both sides of this chamber. He called himself Zichthius and said he'd come for a reason. He said he'd returned to claim his hereditary nest and would lure a harem of she-dragons with news of his glorious victory. He intends to make it his stronghold, a new capital for dragonhood right here in the Land of Plenty." He took in the dwarves, scanning right and left. They grinned, one and all, whispering and murmuring with each other. Their continued giddiness put him off balance. Eyeless stood now, breathing hard and sweating, but he kept on. "He said that his forebears had been defeated here, right here, over 1,000 years ago by a treacherous tunneling army. His father and the rest of his family were slain, and his mother forced to find a new home in the eastern wastes where he was hatched. He said he's made himself ready for battle and is sure of success. You didn't ask what he wanted. He wants directions to the Argentine Alt. He isn't here for us. He's here for you." A full second passed without a sound. Then it happened. The thunderous roar of applause, cheers, and tears of joy. The dwarves surged forward, closing the gap and raising the men on their shoulders, dancing jigs and singing songs. Ale, stout, and dwarven brandy appeared as if from nowhere, and the party went on for hours. Except for Angus. He was still dwarfing the gate. He did hear the human story from his post, however, and his mind raced with the possibilities. It was a lot to take in. The spell was only broken by the sound of dwarven boots thundering up the stairway. For a moment he wondered if the dragon had come on cue. But the 4 dwarves who burst through the door were carrying a portable party. A large roasted boar haunch dripping with fat, a freshly tapped keg, 2 bottles of brandy, and 5 ornate steins. They were Angus' oldest friends, about the same age. They had grown up together. Delane, Flannan, Neil, and Gearman were smiling and laughing, having already enjoyed a full share of the libations. "What would a fellow do without fellows like you?" Angus asked rhetorically, returning his friend's mirth. They set about setting up, using whatever they could find to make a circle to sit in, the keg dead center with the bottles and food on top like a bistro table. When they had settled in, Neil spoke first. Diminutive even for a dwarf, he was well into his 1st century as the apprentice to the chronicler. After another 100 years, he might be allowed to write something down. "Well, lads, I have to say, there's nothing quite like a dragon to give one a true sense of purpose." That brought nods all around. "I've been going over the names of the heroes most likely to strike a killing blow. I've got a good guess. I don't suppose you lot would like to set a wager, would you?" "Oh, it wouldn't really be fair, Neil. I'm going to kill the dragon." Indeed, Flannan might possibly do it. He was a true prodigy with his unique sword. Were he a bit older, he may have understood that when the elder swordmaster said he fought like an elf, it was so. But Flannan, like all 5 of these young dwarves, had never even met an elf, much less fought one. Flannan may have been on Neil's list, but still not near the top. "I'm afraid not, Flannan. Unless you plan to romance the beast, I think Angus would stand a better chance with that bloody great spear of his." Everyone laughed at Neil's jibe. Angus would be locked up in the gatehouse, where he would see none of the fighting. Gearman chimed in next. "I think maybe Amish could bash its brains in with his great hammer. Brute force may not be as fancy as that elven swordplay of yours, but you can't argue its effectiveness. My money's on Amish." Gearman was often of the opinion that a bigger hammer could solve most problems. If nothing else, they made the problems flatter. "I like the digger's chances." If anyone were to stand up for the simple miners, Delane was him. As always, he had his father's gilt pick leaning against the chair. "I'm not saying that it'd be a pick, mind. Just a digger. Blasting powder may be involved. I'll get in on the bet if I can say that any active digger could do the job." The talking, drinking, and haggling over odds went well into the night. In the end, Neil had a scroll with several dozen wagers and 2 possible results. Either one dwarf would win it all, but pay for an evening of fun out of his winnings, or the pot would be spent in the same way, with a strong commitment to spend it all in one night.